the barrier is placed and the soul is leaving the body. So this concept of death that every human being understands and believes in, old and young, regardless of ideology, regardless of beliefs, everyone knows that death is inevitable. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of it throughout the Quran. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul is tasting of death. And the Sahaba, the companions, they used to cry when the concept of death came up. Uthman Ibn Affan radiallahu anh was one time in the graveyard with his friend and he started to cry. He started to weep. So his friend looked at him and he said, you remember paradise and you remember hellfire, but you do not cry. But when you come to the graveyards and you remember death, you start to weep. And so Uthman ibn Affan said, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam say, the grave is the first stage of the hereafter. The grave is the first stage of the hereafter. Whoever passes through it safely, this person will only see that which is easier after the stage. So everything after that will be easier. And whoever does not pass through it safely, this person will only see what comes after that to be more difficult. So everything after that will be more difficult for this individual. And one time, Umar bin Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, was visiting the graveyard with his friend. And when he was visiting the graveyard, he turned to his friend as he was crying and he said, "O Abu Ayyub, how are these the graves of my fathers from Banu Umayyah? When I see their graves now, it seems as if they never participated with the dwellers of the people of this world, in their pleasures, in their lives. And don't you see how now they are beset by trials, how their bodies are eaten by their insects?" And so Umar bin Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, started to cry and cry and cry until he fainted, until he actually went unconscious. So when he came back to consciousness, he said, "Let us leave, for by Allah, I do not know of anyone who is more blessed than the one who comes to the graveyards, and is saved from the punishment of Allah, is saved from any type of trial in the grave and in the hereafter."